What's up, YouTube? Griever here, and here is my review of the BlazeStorm manual soft bullet gun. You saw this in my recent Clowny mystery box. Well, here's the review on it. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is the China knockoff Roughcut. It is by a company called Zecong Toys, and you may know them from the Nightfinder knockoff that they did, which came out at the same time as this. And I believe they've also done some of the other more familiar knockoffs. I think they may have done the Tommy 20 knockoff, the Stampede knockoff, not the Long Pede one that Psych found. I think that may have been a different company. But it's along those same lines. It's someone in China gets the schematics for a blaster and just mass produces a copy of it, just enough so they don't get sued by Hasbro, probably. Well, going over, as you can see, there's nothing in this box, so I have it to the side. I just wanted to go over the box first. So you have the company up here, and on front it says, Parent-Child Battle Game, Special for Battle Outdoor. Somebody English well. And then on the back it gives you a little thing of how to play, and it says, you can invite your friends to play this battle game. One real-like cosplay game will be shown here. It doesn't show where here is, or what it is. The size of our product is suitable for not only the adult and parent, but also the children. Children can also take part in the cosplay battle with the parents. It is one stimulating and safe battle game. I still don't know what the cosplay battle is, but whatever. It comes with a total of 20 pieces, which means, not including the blaster, it comes with 20 darts, which is cool. Seeing as the Ruffcut only comes with 8, it comes with, and it even tells you here, 10 of the Chinese knockoff darts, and 10 of the Chinese knockoff suction cup darts, which really kind of suck. But I will get to those in a minute. First, I want to go over the blaster. This is the blaster itself, the BlazeStorm. Now, over and all, I gotta say, I am very impressed with the construction of this thing. I've heard a lot of horror stories that, some of the overseas knockoffs have been, it's very cheap plastic. It feels like cheaply constructed. This actually does feel very well constructed, so I gotta give them props on that. Notwithstanding though, these orange things are not glued in. You can actually just pop them off, which I will show right here. But you know what? That actually is kind of more so for a benefit of ours, at least in the modding community, because that means painting this thing is going to be a lot easier, so you don't have to tape off the orange stuff. You can just pop it right off. Especially if you want to keep the orange. This way, it'll have like a nice contrast to whatever color you're going to paint it, if it goes with orange. But I digress. So, I am going to do a comparison from this to my Ruffcut. Oh, just real quick going back, saying how it feels like cheap, like the cheap construction thing and all. This thing's solid. Squeezing this, I feel like very little resistance in the plastic. This is good ABS, Nerf quality plastic. So I got to give kudos. I have to give kudos and props to that. Now I'm just going to give, for the uninitiated, a quick overview of what is the Nerf Ruffcut. Nerf Ruffcut is a 2x4 shotgun. You load 8 darts in the front, you fire 2 at a time, 4 rows. Or you can fire 1 at a time, but it fires 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Anyway, real quick, it's got a streamlined body, a little bit of a bulge at the top for the plunger assembly, pump grip on the front, which many have a contention of this was too small. I kind of agree. It is small, but there's enough in here that I have no problem gripping it. So I do agree it's small, but it's never been a major concern of mine. So it has 2 sling mounts, one in the bottom handle, and you can see the nice little bar here, and one on the top, nice little bar here with plenty of room there, and a Nerf tack rail on top so that you can, you can put an accessory like an optic, which is useless, or something more useful like the dart holders from like the barrel break, which holds 8 darts. So that's pretty cool. It does also have priming indicators right here, which is like right here, as you can see from the holes. So when you prime it, you can see what is primed, and then when you fire off one, you can still see, oh wait, that one's also primed. So now onto the BlazeStorm. The BlazeStorm, yes, the grip is very comfortable, and as a little just note here, because I just want to make sure I cover my bases. On the Ruffcut itself, you can see here there are all these like kind of deep ridges in the grip. These, I don't know if some people may find them uncomfortable. I've never really had a problem with these. It's very comfortable and gives like a little bit of a grip to it, so I have no problem with that. There are some smaller ridges at the bottom of the BlazeStorm handle, which, I mean, honestly, I can't even feel, but you know what? Regardless, this is a very, very comfortable grip. This does not have any priming indicators, so the only way you're going to know if you are primed, because you can also slide back the handle, is one, if you pull the trigger, but also you can also feel the resistance. So there's that. On the plus side, you can deep prime this thing. So there's a plus on that. You can't deep prime the Ruffcut. It has slime fire. So there's that. The sling mounts on this thing are a little useless because look at the thickness on the one at the end of the handle. There's no way you are getting any kind of bandolier or anything around that unless you put a gigantic ring here and then put the ring around your bandolier or your quick release or whatever. So there's that. There's also the one up here, which if you can get it here, you're fine. But once you get here, because of this ridge, it kind of makes it pretty tight there. So, but truth be told, I don't really use a bandolier anymore. I did like my very, very first war because I had a Spectre slung on it. But outside of that, I think that was the only time I ever used it. But that's not me, but, that's me, but other people may find other uses for it. So, the grip on it is actually surprisingly much more comfortable than the Ruffcut because it's actually bigger. Very easy to prime, and actually the 2-stage trigger is a lot more crisp on the BlazeStorm. So, again, props where props are due. The one big notice you will see here is the top of this thing. You can see it's got like this huge cutout as opposed to where on the Ruffcut it's just pretty much a straight go. The plus side is there is a Picatinny rail here, so you can put something that you want to be like super tactical, you can do that there. However, you also have to deal with this gigantic ridge here. I mean, it is pretty flush to the blaster itself, so you may be able to get away with actually just grinding off at least that section. You might get stuck with this piece here because there is a screw there, but I'd say at that point just leave it and just deal. Another cool thing I noticed about this is just for cosmetic modifications is there is a big ridge right here between the handle and the blaster, which will make for much easier painting because if you don't want to paint your handle, you can very easily tape that off without having to worry about like, ooh, did I get everything? Is it going to bleed into the trigger well, this, that, or stuff? Because, I mean, I love my Ruffcuts, and I love painting them, and I love working on them, obviously, as my contest. Click the link below for that video. But they can be a little tricky to paint if you're not going to be painting the handle. It's a lot, like, the taping off is a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little more, not delicate, but it's a little more tricky, just because it's a lot. You got to be a little more. You don't have easier. Okay, I can't word well either. You don't get like the nice clean line. You have to be able to. You have a lot of little different areas to tape off. But I'm going to do a quick firing demo to show you exactly how this thing works. Because, like I said, it works just like the Roughcut. I'm only going to be firing off 4 shots out of each using some old streamlines. Well, not old, but, actual Nerf streamlines. And now I'm going to go into the darts of these. Then we'll go from there. So, 4 in the Roughcut. 4 in the BlazeStorm. And I apologize for ranting. It's a little late, but, I want to be thorough on this. I haven't really seen many reviews on this, but I want to be thorough on that. So, the Roughcut, I'm going to do a 2-stage shot and then a regular shot. So, you have 1, 2, which is the way it goes. And then you also have your double fire. BlazeStorm works the same way. So you have 1, 2. Wow, this thing has a pretty good kick. And then double shot. So, again, it works exactly like the Roughcut. So, I guess I'm very, very impressed with this. Before I get onto the insides of the blasters, I do want to go over the darts that it comes with, because I've never really actually gotten a chance to play around with these. These are the Chinese knockoff darts. Now, you're maybe saying, hey, that's an elite dart. No, this is an elite dart. This is the Chinese knockoff one. You can actually see that there's a size difference in the foam alone, just about more than a head of, almost more than a dart head's worth of foam is taken off of the Chinese darts. The other side of the Chinese darts, which is why I prefer my Koosh darts over these, because I could have gotten a buttload of these, but I decided not to. Besides the fact that they are shorter, these heads, even though they're hollow, they act pretty solid. So, like, firing something like this off is pretty much almost akin to is almost like a glue dome, per se. It may not have the impact of a glue dome, but, I mean, this is hard plastic, no, like, real cushion on it. So, if you fire this out of something high-powered enough, it's gonna freaking hurt. The other dart it comes with, now it comes with 10 of those, and it also comes with 10 of these, which are the Chinese suction cup darts. Now, I've never been a big fan of suction cup darts. I've heard that some people claim that they're a lot more aerodynamic. Other people, will sit there and just take the heads off and just use them like that. You could probably just take the heads off of these and cut these in half and use these almost as kind of like a cheap, not really a cheap alternative to slugs, but you can almost use them as a alternate to slugs. But honestly, these, again, it's, the cheap foam, you actually, I think, get more foam on these darts than you do on the other ones. Here's a comparison to the Nerf dart. That's really about these. I'm honestly not very impressed with the darts themselves, but enough about that. Let's go to the inside of the blasters and see how similar they are to each other between the Roughcut and the BlazeStorm. And then I will come back and I will give you my final thoughts on this product. Okay, so here we have the Nerf Ruffcut internals. I wanted to do a comparison first. I had a Project Ruffcut here. This is what I wanted to showcase first of what the internals are. Here we have the priming bar that goes into the gear system here. Trigger with the double catch system. The plungers with the assemblies there. And I'm trying to do the best I can. I don't know how well it's shadowing, but there you can see the gear system for the actual priming action. This is pretty much your standard Roughcut internals. Let's see what they now compare to the BlazeStorm internals and see if they did any modifications, and if so, what the changes were. Okay, and here we have the inside of the BlazeStorm. Now, the only major differences between the two really are, A, this unscrews on the opposite side of the actual Roughcut, and there is no trigger spring. Other than that, the setup is almost identical. The gearbox is a little bigger, although it is actually empty. This is the only portion of where the gears actually are. The rest of this is completely open, and there is no trigger spring. The catch actually acts as the trigger reset, so there's no sense of a trigger spring. Other than that, these are pretty much identical internally. The shells are obviously vastly different, but the mechanics works the exact same way, so you're pretty much getting, as long as the gears hold up, you're getting a pretty good replica out of this thing, and I hate to say it, but possibly even a much more comfortable handle out of this. I'm not too keen about the top of it, but I'll get into that later in my final thoughts. But yeah, this is pretty much a spot-on replica of the Roughcut. So I guess kudos. The only other difference that I did notice is the Roughcut handle has 3 screws in it, whereas the BlazeStorm only actually has 2 in it. So outside of that, and no trigger spring, you're getting pretty much the same blaster, really. Like I said, I haven't done performance test. That will maybe I'll throw that in after this portion of it. But yeah, I'm going to close this thing back up. I'll try and get a range test in, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so there were the internals of the blaster. I'm going to see about, I think you can see these things are pretty much, like, internally, they're identical. Well, close enough, or at least close enough to it. It's the same priming mechanism, same catch system, maybe 1 or 2 minute differences. But outside of that, you're getting a Nerf Roughcut in this thing. Now, I do like the shell. I do like the way it feels. I do like it. Is it going to replace the Roughcut in my heart? Probably not. But you know what? This is a damn close second to it. So if you can pick these up for the cost of a Roughcut, I would say definitely go for it. Because, 1, you get some cheap foam out of it, but you also get a pretty good Roughcut replacement on these things. And if it costs more than Roughcut to get this, honestly, I would still recommend the Roughcut over this, definitely, for price-wise. There's enough differences, but enough similarities. There's enough differences and enough similarities between this to make me like it. I would recommend it. So if you can, pick these up, but I wouldn't pay more than Roughcut prices for them. So, in conclusion, that's the BlazeStorm semi-auto soft bullet gun. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please throw me a like and subscribe. Throw me a comment below. Let me know what you think of it. And I'll catch you guys next time. Later.